and welcome to another installment of TED Excellence, the show in which I find out how to modify justice so that everyone has the exact same outcome. I think. And I come to you live from my Corona bunker on the moon with Dog Cat Fox, a Pepperjack, and all of you. Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to Thursday. Tempestuous Thursday. Yes, once more, into the breach. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are here for TEDx. We are here to learn. We are here to expand our minds, to ask questions, and likely not get answers. Hello, chat. Hope you're all doing well. It's been quite a week for me in the realm of pain due to some dental stuff that I'm just going to have to get over with, but I'm going to bitch for a while about because it's uncomfortable, but hey, them's the breaks. Anyway, who is joining me for this wonderful exploration of justice today? Why, that would be Hayden Titsy. I hope I said that right. Hello, Zalbla. Hello. Corey Suzuki. Hello. Zach Osborne. Hello. Debatefly. Hello. Texas Attorney General Secret Agent. Hello. Zeke Weiss. Hello. Arc 2010. Arc 210. Hello. Funtime Bats. Hello. Manual Nation. Hello. Puddock. Hello. Megan Ring. Hello. Dr. Keeve. Hello. Nobody Not Me. Hello. Deco. Hello. The Best Remy. Hello. Quinn the Cultist. Hello. John Miller. Hello. Aspianti. Hello. Bast the Holy Cat. Hello. Zan Wild, hello. Paul Hess, hello. So, what is on the docket for today? Oh, Lexi Mads is here. Well, thank goodness. I would have to start over if she wasn't. Or something. Or at least temporarily. Okay, I'm about to go for my walk, but I should be back in time to finish the stream. Oh, I see. You can't just put me on your iPod or something? Okay, well, fine. Roger Reynolds, hello. Eric Grunstadter, hello. So let's see, order of operations here. What are we talking about today? Well, this is all Satsu's fault. Kind of. I listed off the potential TEDx's I might do today the other night on Lords of the Night, and Satsu was particularly piqued by the title of this one. And so I decided, well, that's as good a meter as I need. And so today's topic is why fighting for racial equity means reimagining justice. Why fighting for racial equity means reimagining justice. What does that mean? No idea. But this does come from jolly old London. So I hope they don't get too far into the weeds of the legal system there because I don't know it well enough to comment on anything. I guess we'll see. What else? Oh, yes, bingo card. Today's bingo card is bingo card B. B as in beluga whale or something. Sure, why not? So get your bingo cards ready. This one clocks in at just over 15 minutes, so your basic average TEDx talk. I think that's all the preamble I need. This is a new overlay. I made a new overlay for this particular episode. Well, I mean, I'll use it in the future too, but do you like the overlay? I made it just for you guys. I also made something else just before the show. I can't tell you what it is. I'm not sure it'll ever become useful for the show because it's a 1 in a million shot that we'll ever need it, but I made something new. I'll just leave you with that and it'll probably never come up again. But I'm going to start off with a few seconds for sound test. You guys tell me if you can hear this, and then we shall proceed.
What happens when you hear a siren?
I don't know. You guys hear that? What happens when you hear a siren? Does that sound okay to you guys? Let me know. This is going to be something, I think. Sounds British. Hello, governor. I'm British. Well, this is in London, so that makes sense. All right, what happens when I hear a siren? Around here, where I live, within half a tick of a fire station and over in a highway patrol office, not much. It might be an annoyance if I'm recording something, but yeah, okay.
When I hear a siren, I feel it in my body.
Sounds like a you problem.
My chest feels tight.
Uh-huh.
My heart starts racing.
Uh-huh.
I feel on edge.
Mm-hmm.
Both my understanding and experience of the way Black people and our communities are policed has made an imprint on my brain.
Okay, so again, I am not familiar with what all goes on in Britain. So I may just apply my own sense of American sensibilities to whatever's being said here, unless we get very specific. So, okay, so she has a paranoia. Got it.
What happens to me when I hear a siren is not just a bodily response.
Uh-huh.
It's a psychological response.
Actually, it's mostly a psychological response that then leads to the bodily response because, you know, one controls the other, but not to nitpick or anything.
A stress response.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I'm not the only one.
I'm sure you're not. But again, that's you doing that to yourself.
The encounters you have had or haven't had with the police will shape what happens to you when you hear a siren.
I suppose that is possible.
Or if you even hear it at all.
What happened to you? We're going to get an anecdote soon.
Not only do we live in a society where some communities hear sirens a lot more than others. We live in a society where hearing a siren can mean relief, protection, and safety for some, yet fear, danger, and pain for others.
Yeah, well, some of those are emotions, and those are your responsibility. Okay, it can be the case, I suppose. You need to get more detailed.
That's the tension for me. This should make me feel safe. So why do I feel fear?
That is the million-dollar question, I suppose. What has driven you to have this paranoid reaction to the sound of a siren?
I'll ask again.
Uh-huh.
What happens when you hear a siren?
For myself, not much. Depends on the context, though. If I'm sitting in my apartment, I'm hearing a siren out in the street somewhere, you know, nothing. If I'm outside walking down the street and I hear a siren, I figure, well, the traffic lights are going to change here pretty quick. Or if I was driving a car, which I never do, I would then, you know, pull over to the side. It really depends on the context of the situation, doesn't it?
And have you ever thought about what happens to others?
When it comes to sirens? No, because I'm not a mind reader.
Once again, the detrimental impact of policing on Black people came to the fore of public consciousness last summer.
Uh-huh.
The police murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis reinvigorated a global movement for accountability and racial justice.
Uh-huh. Thank you, Drew W. What's the definition of a phobia? Fearful of something with no rational reasoning behind the fear itself, but most people fear the siren if you break the law. I will extend the benefit of the doubt that depending on what her personal experience is, that maybe a siren causes something unpleasant for a justifiable reason. We don't know what if her fear is rational or irrational yet. She hasn't given us the explanation, so we'll wait on that. Thank you. This is Kyle. Hello, chat people and scribbles. Hello, Kyle. Okay, so George Floyd. Yes, George Floyd. And, you know, every time someone is killed by the police who happens to be other than white, nobody cares, and it's completely normalized, and it's actually celebrated, don't you know? Yeah. We live in a society that never takes note of these things or gives any outrage when they occur. Yeah. The George Floyd video when it first came out, and obviously more information has come out since then, but the first visceral reaction by people, there was nary a word on either side of the ideological aisle that saw that video and didn't say, yeah, that's fucked up. So we live in a society that...
Across the world, millions of people took to the streets to stand against violence.
Yeah. Some did. Some did. Many otherwise used as an excuse to commit violence. But you're not going to bring that up, are you?
And show solidarity to the bereaved families of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and so many more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was their motivation. I'm sure that was everyone's motivation.
Too many more.
Mm-hmm.
All in the midst of a global health pandemic.
Yeah, and that was not very wise either, given all the advice we've been giving from the CDC and collecting in groups and all that fun stuff, though, honestly, I'm not that set aside by that. Are you going to name any people who were killed by police who weren't black? I mean, if it is about police violence, oh wait, no, it's about policing black people. It has nothing to do with police activity or policy or anything otherwise, or any other instances where someone was killed unjustly. It just has to do with skin color. Okay, just wanted to make sure.
And the UK was no different.
Yes.
Hundreds of thousands of us protested across the nation.
Yeah, because the UK is the UK really known for killing black people? I don't know.
I was one of them.
I can imagine.
Across Europe, millions of people got down on one knee to physically embody their outrage that the police had choked yet another black man to death in a place that they probably wouldn't be able to point to on a map.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. Some people were being legitimately protesting, which is fine. Some people were looking for an excuse to cause trouble. Some people were looking for an excuse to do terrible things to other people. On and on and on and on and on. Some people were doing it out of ideological hubris. I don't know. I'm not a mind reader. Are you?
Because international solidarity is fundamental. Because from America to France to Brazil to Canada to the UK, Black people are over-policed and under-protected.
Are they? In the UK? In Brazil? In Canada? Really? I don't know. I guess I'll just have to take your word for it.
We experience a police force and not a police service, which often results in our untimely and violent deaths.
How are you still alive? I mean, how were you able to protest? No white people ever die at the hands of police, justified or otherwise. Never happens. No one of any other race dies at the hands of police, justified or otherwise. No one of any other race, then I suppose white people are ever the police officers who end up taking a life or causing someone harm. Never happens, right? Okay.
But who are you marching for?
I'm not marching for anybody. I like staying at home.
Because my observation was this. The European Parliament could pass its own resolution denouncing police brutality in America for the very same reason that the National Council of Police Chiefs in the UK could issue its very own statement claiming to be in solidarity with the family of George Floyd.
What?
Because it's far easier to point the finger abroad than to dismantle the systems of structural racism and violence on our very own doorstep.
Okay, well, you're going to need to tell me about the epidemic of black people being killed, shot, or otherwise in Britain, because I'm honestly unaware of that. And by the way, what statement would make you happy? What would you like to see happen? You know, I mean, I'll stipulate that there's a problem. For the sake of argument, there's a problem. Okay, what is the solution? What should be done?
We have a culture of deflection and unaccountability, but I want to bring it home.
Deflection and unaccountability. Okay, well, every instance of police activity is unjustified if it involves a black person. Is that what I am to understand? Because if not, are you going to at least allow for the possibility that sometimes the police act because someone has committed a crime, is committing a crime, is a threat to other people, and on and on and on? Otherwise, I mean, it's not an across the board thing. Police are bad, full stop. If you're not going to admit to the nuance of the situation and give some context to accountability,
and amplify the message of those of us who were clear in our outrage, the UK is not innocent.
Okay, and your solution is, and like I say, I don't know the UK's system that much.
Rashawn Charles couldn't breathe when he was heavily restrained by a police officer and then died on the floor of a corner shop in Hackney in 2017.
Okay, I'm not familiar with the case.
His death was ruled accidental.
Yeah.
The CCTV footage did not secure justice for that family.
Well, was it accidental or wasn't it?
Azelle Rodney was shot 6 times by police marksman Anthony Long in my very own community in 2005. His own bosses even joked that he was the Metropolitan Police's very own serial killer.
Okay. Why did he shoot that person?
But he was found not guilty of Azelle's murder in 2015.
What were the circumstances? I honestly don't know. What were the circumstances? 6 times he shot her? Okay, what was happening?
The last things Christopher Alder heard as he was dying, face down on the floor of a police custody suite in Hull in 1998 was monkey chants and laughter.
Okay. And then?
The Crown Prosecution Service claimed it could not infer a racist motivation.
Okay, again, I'm unfamiliar with these cases, but okay. Not giving us what was happening at the time. I'll just have to take your word for it, I guess. All these things were terrible, and these people were killed unjustly. Okay. And your solution is?
5 officers were cleared of manslaughter.
Okay. All right. I'm going to the bingo card. Leaves out vital context. There's only so much sort of room I'm willing to give on this kind of stuff. So leaves out vital context. Circling free space. Let's go over. Anecdote that probably never happened. I mean, her news stories and incidents happened. The context is missing. Self-vilification or wretchedness, no. Systemic institutional, she talked about systemic racism. Weightless example, I don't know what her argument is yet, so we'll have to wait and see. Word salad, not yet. Collectivizes own demographic, yep. White supremacy, she hasn't said it yet. I assume we'll get there. A list. She went down a list of names of people and is going through a list of names of people killed by police, okay? Or died in police custody, depending on the circumstances, which I don't know them all. Privilege, not yet. Equity, it's in the title, but I'm going to wait for her to say it because the title is usually set by the people who run the channel. Plays victim. I don't know yet. I need to, if she's going to tell us why she feels afraid of sirens, then maybe, but I don't know. Or maybe not, I should say. Attempt to coin new buzzword, buzz phrase, not yet. Wage gap, no. Patriarchy, no. Feminism, no. Mind reading assumes motives. Yep, circling that one, because obviously the police are out there to hurt people. Diversity and inclusion, not yet. Marginalization, not yet. Make something about race, sex, etc. for no reason. It's always going to come down to the for no reason part. Whatever she brings up, it has to be essentially a non sequitur. And nothing that she said so far falls outside of that. Childhood or family anecdote. She hasn't talked about herself yet. Contradicts own point or argument. Don't know what her argument is yet. Benevolent condescension. Not yet. And microaggressions, unconscious bias. Not yet. Okay, so far we have systemic institutional, leaves out vital context, collectivizes own demographic, a list, free space, and mind reading assumes motives.
Trevor Smith, Darren Cumberbatch, Edson DaCosta, Nuno Cardoso, Mazee Mohammed, Dalian Atkinson, Sheku Bayo, Jermaine Baker, Adrian McDonald, Leon Briggs, Mark Duggan, Smiley Culture, Kingsley Burrell, Olaseni Lewis, Sean Rigg, Mikey Powell, Derek Bennett, Roger Sylvester, Brian Douglas, Mahmoud Hassan. This is not just an American problem.
I have absolutely no idea of any of the circumstances surrounding any of those people's deaths, I'm assuming. And I have a very hard time taking it on faith that every time you bring up a name of someone who died either in police custody or from police action, that every single one of them was unjustified, that there were no circumstances at all that led to their deaths ahead of time. It's possible that all of those names are people who are completely innocent, minding their own business, and cops did something crazy. It's possible. But the fact that you're not going to tell us why or what circumstances they died, I have to remain a bit skeptical.
The deaths are the very tip of the iceberg. The culture of violence that enables them to happen at the scale that they do.
How many white people have died as a result of police custody or police action in Britain in the same time frame? How many? That would be considered either questionable or unusual or whatever. I mean, if you're going to talk about police violence or police overreach or police abuse of power, hey, there you go. You start breaking it down by skin color. If you're gonna prove to me that it's a bigger problem in one demographic versus another, you've got to give me something to compare it to. And that you're not naming anyone outside of your own demographic, I don't believe you.
Has many more victims, and most of them survive.
Mm-hmm.
Every experience of policing leaves a trace. Every you fit the description, every stop and search, every video of police violence from across the world, every blue light, every siren, every single experience leaves a trace.
And your solution to this problem would be?
But this is not just about policing. I have spent the last decade working with children and young people impacted by the criminal justice system, and I can tell you firsthand, it is completely broken.
In what way? I'm willing to believe it. No system's perfect. Certainly not in London, anywhere else, but in what way?
I have spent hours in police stations. I have spent hours in courtrooms. I have spent hours in prisons, and I have spent hours in probation offices.
Have you spent hours in ride-alongs with police? Just curious.
I have witnessed firsthand the misery, trauma, and harm that these places inflict on individuals, whole families, and entire communities.
Okay, well, anyone who ends up in any of those places, all right, yeah, nobody wants to end up in court. Nobody wants to end up at a police station, right? These are situations that no one wants to end up in. There's rarely a time where someone is happy to be in court or happy to be at a police station. And if it's not a one-sided thing. All right, it's not a one-sided thing. You're generalizing quite a bit here. But okay, yes, there are a few happy stories to come out of courtrooms. There are a few happy stories to come out of police stations, depending. Where are we going?
The fundamental issue is this. The only system we have to deal with conflict and harm is in and of itself a source of conflict and harm.
And so...
But this is not just about the criminal justice system.
Oh.
This is about the structural racism which is woven into the very fabric of British society.
Oh, okay. Well, tell me about that, because I'm not as familiar with British society.
And the ways in which every organization, institution, and system intertwine, resulting in interlocking experiences of oppression.
Every institution in Britain intertwine and oppress Black people. Really? Every single one? All right. Show me the structure. If it's structural racism, then you should be able to show me the structure. You know, the laws, the policies that explicitly say X, Y, Z or otherwise, right?
The education system,
Mm-hmm.
the healthcare system, the welfare system, local authorities, schools, colleges and universities, hospitals, mental health services, charities.
And a partridge in a pear tree. Yes, okay. Listing off everything under the sun is not proof of anything.
And non-profit organizations, and how they all perpetuate racism.
All of them? Charities. So a cancer charity perpetuates racism. A historically black university perpetuates racism. Everything? The Salvation Army? Okay.
And in some ways further the work of the criminal justice system.
A cancer charity furthers the work of the criminal justice system? How?
Police officers in schools.
Yeah. Why are they there? Is there no reason that they're there? They just decided to show up. The local community said, we need to oppress the students of this school, send a cop. Okay. I kind of said it before, but I'll say it one more time. You will not convince me that there is a perfect system of criminal justice, because no system is perfect. Likewise, this is why I'm against the death penalty, because a penalty that has no possibility of redress if something goes wrong would tend to claim that the system that put it there is perfect and cannot fail, which we know isn't true. Irreversible punishment assumes an infallible system. Yeah, so. But that being said, it's not one or the other. Everything is not a conspiracy against you. Everything is not coming down on you. If we were in any other context where somebody was telling me how everything is aligned to oppress them, to harm them, to keep them down, we'd be talking tinfoil hat territory here. Okay, because that's not how people work. That's not how everything fits together. Police are not all villains. Every system, every institution is not a hive of evil. If you're not going to allow for any nuance in this, all you do is sound like a zealot.
Increase in school exclusions, local councils using police intelligence to threaten whole families with eviction, charities complicit in the process of criminalization in all.
Whoa. Wait. I must have misheard something. Before I say something else, I just want to back up and make sure I heard that correctly.
Increase in school exclusions, local councils using police intelligence to threaten whole families with eviction.
Police intelligence to threaten families with eviction. Well, what's the police intelligence? I mean, if someone's committing a crime in their home, or they've, I don't know, if the house is in such disrepair, or what are you talking about? All of these things are unjustified. All of them affect only Black people, if they happen at all.
Charities complicit in the process of criminalization in order to access funding.
What are you talking about?
Collectively, they are all contributing to an increase in appetite for punishment.
Okay. Every institution, every organization, every charity, every group, every club, everything in Britain is aligned against Black people. Okay. It's endemic, it's entwined, it's inherent, It's written into the genetic code of every level of society in Britain. All right. Do you have any ideas of how to solve this problem somehow?
And this all has a detrimental and disproportionate impact on Black communities. So whilst many organizations claimed to be in solidarity with Black Lives Matter, how many really interrogated the ways in which they perpetuate racism?
Well, you're going to have to tell us the ways in which they perpetuate, because just saying everything is inherently aligned against Black people and they're all working together to further the criminal justice system and treat people unfairly, it sounds a bit conspiratorial. It sounds a bit crazy. So I'm going to need some evidence, actual evidence.
How many are really dismantling the racism and anti-Blackness which is embedded within their structures, processes, procedures, and practice?
Show me where that is taking place. If a company or an organization or a group, and I said group because there are groups out there, guys. I'm not confusing demographics. I'm saying like actual groups. If they have these things in place that do these things, give me an active example. Give me a storied institution in Britain that is actively, at its core, anti-Black. All right? Give me an example. And then tell me how they should purge themselves of this evil.
Black Lives Matter is not a slogan.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. I mean, it is a slogan. It's also, I mean, it's a very clever slogan because it represents a loose, uncentered organization and philosophy and political movement, but it's also a statement of virtue. And so, if you say you're not in favor of Black Lives Matter, are you saying that you don't care about Black people, or are you saying you don't agree with the movement and its methods? All right, it's a bit of a rhetorical trap, but it is a slogan.
It's a rallying cry for equity which won't be achieved by posting a black square on Instagram, releasing a rushed public statement which lacks substance, or any of the other performative gestures we collectively witnessed.
Okay, word salad, circling that one. Also, the only equity you deserve is under the law. Ideally. And I understand, as I said before, no system's perfect. No one is necessarily treated equally under the law, but at least under the written law, by the standards, everyone should achieve equity under the law. Outside of that, your life is your own. Your fate is your own. You're not guaranteed an outcome otherwise. Or you shouldn't be, I guess I should say.
We need real action.
Such as?
Because the cumulative impact for Black people who experience all of these systems at once is psychological harm.
So what action would you advise?
As Ghislaine Kinwani said, racism causes harm to the body and harm to the mind. Yeah,
it does. It really depresses me to see people assuming that because I'm a white man, I'm going to go out and hurt somebody, or that I'm inherently evil, or that I'm some scum of the earth and that kind of thing. It really does take a toll of a kind. But I still have faith in myself, and I still have faith in most people that they don't operate that way. I don't live in paranoia and fear that everybody that looks at me funny is assessing me on the basis of my skin color. Because A, I can't know that they are or aren't, and B, even if they are, I don't give a shit. So, what do you want?
These simultaneous and layered experiences of racism result in racial trauma.
You don't experience trauma because you have a particular skin color. Just walk down the street, happen to have a particular skin color, and just constantly feel pain. That's not how that works. It's not how that works. It's not how any of this works.
There is no way to talk about racial justice or racial equity without talking about racial trauma.
Define racial justice. Justice predicated on skin color to me sounds a little sketchy. Define racial equity. What does that look like? If you're talking about equality under the law, I am right there with you. Civil rights, on and on and on. It's the values I grew up with and still believe in. Okay. Racial trauma, again, need some more information. Just saying these things and putting race in front of it is not an argument. It is not proof. It does not finalize anything.
It isn't just a theory. It's what we're experiencing and living with every single day.
Says you.
Our mental health services have not even begun to understand its individual or intergenerational impact.
If there's intergenerational trauma from family to family to family, that might be a family problem. Sort of like with your, in the olden days, and even today, let's say, when they were more prevalent, the Ku Klux Klan. If you had a kid raised in a family that was sympathetic to or members of the Ku Klux Klan, they were probably taught racism. And teaching people to hate is, in my mind, or like I should say, irrationally hate, is a trauma of a kind. So if you're teaching your kids to be fearful of people, if you're teaching your kids to be fearful of sirens, if you're teaching your kids to be fearful of people on the basis of their skin color and on, then maybe you need to stop doing that unless it's somehow absolutely necessary.
So how can we even begin to heal when the very services that are supposed to facilitate healing often reproduce racism?
I don't know. What are you asking for? What do you want to have happen here? If everything is bad, what is your solution?
We have had to create our own infrastructure at a community level to address racial trauma and deal with the harm.
How so? What have you created on a community level to do this?
Not just the harm inflicted by the state, including state violence, not just the harm perpetuated by other organizations and institutions within society, but the harm that we cause each other and experience within our communities, which is a direct result of these societal pressures.
Whoa. Okay, you had me for a second there. Okay, so the harm you do to each other in your own communities is a result of the societal pressures. What were you saying earlier about accountability? No, you don't get to make that move. All the other stuff aside, if someone chooses to hurt somebody else within your own community, are you really going to set the blame outside of that person and say, oh, they beat up that person, but obviously because of their skin color, they didn't really have a choice? Really? Okay, benevolent condescension, circling that one. Come on.
Because the only system to deal with conflict and harm creates more conflict and harm, we have to reimagine what justice really looks like.
Okay, so are we going for restorative justice? Are we finally going to get to the proposal in some way, shape, or form 9 minutes into this? I hope so, because that's kind of what I was waiting for this whole time.
What justice really feels like. And this is why I believe in transformative justice. It is so powerful because it fundamentally recognizes that we all have the capacity for transformation.
Give me an example. Give me an active example of transformative justice in action. I am all ears.
The ability to change. That we can address violence in our communities.
How?
That we can seek safety and build accountability without relying on marginalization.
Marginalization on the board. Okay, circling that one. And to each one of these points she's making, I ask, how? And going back to accountability, if it's about accountability, why are you blaming people's actions on pressure from these systems or society?
Punishment,
Yes.
policing, or imprisonment.
Like what?
That we can heal from generational trauma and violence and transform the consequences of oppression on our hearts, our bodies, and our minds.
How?
That we must build collective power to respond to all forms of violence.
Collective power to respond to all forms of violence. How is that not policing?
Including state and systemic violence.
Okay, so you want to make a community-based, collective organization to respond to violence, even that occurring from state actors. Can you give us some details about how this all works? I keep asking how, and you're not giving me any answers.
Transformative justice is not just a utopian idea.
Yeah, it is. That's all you've been saying this entire time. The world is an entire dystopia aimed against you, and you have the solution. But okay, tell me why it's not perfect.
It's a practice.
Uh-huh.
And like many grassroots organizations, the Forefront Project, which I set up.
I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure what that if that sweater was a company logo or something. Okay, so your organization that you set up has the solution to the insurmountable, endemic, nationwide societal evil that is so entwined that everything, including cancer charities, is oppressing you. Okay. It's been a little while since I've done a TEDx that ended up being a sales pitch, but let's continue.
The Forefront Project, which I set up in 2012 to empower young people, is practicing transformative justice.
Okay, in what way, and what are your success stories?
And centering healing in our approach to address violence.
In what way? What do you do? How does transformative justice work in your opinion? Because that phrase can mean a zillion things, as I've already discovered.
Because working towards our individual and collective healing is one crucial way that we can resist a system which inflicts so much pain.
Wait, how can you ever heal? Okay, from the situation you've described, every institution, every organization, every charity, everything is all aimed against Black people in Britain. All of it. They're all structurally, systemically, culturally, policied, aimed at Black people to oppress them and hurt them and kill them, and on and on and on. All of that is coming down on you. How does your organization create the impenetrable force field to allow healing to occur? How does that work? What do you do? What is transformative justice?
For Forefront, practicing transformative justice is many things.
Such as?
It's de-escalating violence.
De-escalating violence. Okay, so you and your group of young people go out and seek violence to de-escalate? How does that, what do you mean de-escalate violence?
It's conflict resolution, mediation. It's building capacity for community accountability processes. It's safety planning. It's supporting young people and their families to rebuild and strengthen their relationships.
None of that means anything. Concrete example. What do you do? Give me an example. And I know I'm probably not going to get one, but I'm just asking rhetorically. Give me an example where your group, absent of any law enforcement, any state-run, whatever. Okay, just your group, using its methods, de-escalated a violent situation. I mean, I'd love to have more than one example, but I'll just take one example. Give me one example where this was put into practice and tell me what happened. Do you have any of that?
It's being present when they are in crisis. It's advocating for young people in the police station, in courts, and throughout legal processes to ensure their rights are upheld. And
are you a collective of lawyers? Are you a collective of mental health professionals? Are you a collective of medical professionals? How do you do this? How do you do this? Backing up a bit.
When they are in crisis, it's advocating for young people in the police station, in courts, and throughout legal processes to ensure their rights are upheld and their needs are met.
Okay, I don't know about the legal services process in Britain. I don't know how all that works. I'm not that familiar with it. So I'll take her word for it on this one. But at the same time, I still have to ask, is your group, is your organization, are you legal professionals? I mean, what does it mean to provide support? What do you do? How is that transformative justice? Because there are legal advocates and have been legal advocates since the beginning of time. I know I'm asking questions I won't get answers to.
It's supporting their families through these processes. It's holding institutions and organizations that are in their life accountable for the ways that they treat them.
Okay, well, if someone is going through the legal system, youth or otherwise, all right, obviously, hopefully, fingers crossed, presumption of innocence. But at the end of the day, if they go through the process and they committed a crime, what accountability would you have occur otherwise? What do you do about the serial rapist? What do you do about the serial killer? If I haven't heard an alternative yet. You've talked about your organization. You've talked about the evils of the system and basically everything in society. What is the alternative to the current process? What is transformative justice?
It's building their sense of self, their identity in a world that repeatedly tells them that their lives don't matter.
The world, okay. Do you ever think, just maybe, and I know I'm stretching here. You ever think just maybe that by you telling kids that society thinks they don't matter, by drumming into kids' heads a sense of paranoia and fear of the police, a sense of lack of self-worth against society, do you think in any way, shape, or form that you might be contributing to a problem? Is it possible for you to consider that possibility?
It's building their skills and confidence to enable them to advocate for themselves, their families, our communities, as a means of resistance, which is both liberatory and reparatory in and of itself.
And also teach them to avoid dealing with police officers and state officials and people from any organization in society. I mean, if you're teaching them isolationism, if you're teaching them vigilantism after a fashion, you think that's going to help or hinder their progress in life?
It's the love circle we had for a young man the day before he was potentially imprisoned, where our whole team, young people from our community and his friends, told him one by one all the reasons why they loved him, printed pictures, wrote him letters to take with him, so that if he was incarcerated, he would know that he was cared for, he mattered, and that he would still be supported.
Okay, what did he do? Or what was he convicted of, or possibly convicted of? A love circle. Okay, is that transformative justice? I mean, I don't see anything wrong with it. But what does that have to do with changing the system? That's supporting an individual, depending on the circumstances, sure. What does that do to tear down the racist institutions of cancer charities?
It's the memorial we had for a young man who was murdered in our community, where everyone had a chance to pay their respects, share memories, pay tribute, hold space for one another, and grieve together.
That's fine. I mean, not fine in the sense that it had to happen. I mean, I obviously don't wish anybody murdered, but okay, but what does that do to change the system? What does that do to tear down the structures?
It's a community support system which is not just in place when they have been harmed themselves, but also when they have harmed others. Not focused on perpetuating shame, but on providing compassion and opportunities to repair harm.
Okay, again, circumstantially, restorative justice could work in some fashion. It all depends on what the crime was, what the extent of it was, on and on. I've made this argument a million times before. I could see restorative justice alternatives and reparative alternatives being in place, perpetually. But it will all depend on the crime. If someone just says blanket statement, we should have these things, I don't believe you. Because then I have to ask, what do you do with the next Dylan Roof? What do you do with the next Bernie Madoff? What do you do with the next Ted Bundy? And on and on and on. If you say, from this level of crime down, like third-degree misdemeanors and lower, there will be potential for a diversionary program or a restorative program or something like that. I'll be like, okay, maybe. I'll hear the argument. And yeah, I mean, and here's the other thing. For somebody who commits a crime that isn't like the most heinous, something that isn't the end of the world, something that, they could conceivably be reformed from and society would accept them back and so on and so forth. If they serve their time, if they serve their punishment, it shouldn't be necessarily a scarlet letter for the rest of their life. I mean, it doesn't always happen. There's lots of recidivism, but having a structure in place to support someone through the process of rehabilitation back into society, I don't have a problem with. So on that score, I'm all with you. But at the same time, that all sounds like supplementary to the system in place. That doesn't sound like anything that's going to change the system. I mean, maybe it'll reduce recidivism, and I'm all for that. But what does that do to make you less afraid of sirens?
And move forward. It's building strong, long-term relationships with young people that center love, service, and care. Mm-hmm. It's actively fighting to dismantle racist systems, which we need to do by uplifting the voices and experiences of those most affected by them, whilst creating the space to heal from racial trauma, not only individually, but collectively.
How can that happen? If every institution, if every organization, if every governmental system is all inherently, endemically anti-Black, why would anybody listen to your voices, raised up or otherwise? Why would you think you have any opportunity to do anything? If you are actually oppressed, how are you standing on that stage? How did you form your organization? How did you do any of the things you say your organization has done?
It's building hope.
Yeah.
And creating space to imagine and build new systems. Mm-hmm. Systems to deal with the harm and the violence.
Such as what? What's a system to deal with the harm and the violence? What's a system that will replace an existing system? What do you mean?
Systems for accountability and systems for healing. This kind of holistic support is what is transforming my community and our society.
What? Oh boy! Wow. Okay, that's a major statement. I thought society was concrete against Black people. Every institution was entwined and overlapping and intersecting. How can it change? I keep asking how. How does this work?
There is another way.
Such as?
If you believe Black Lives Matter,
oh boy,
you have to support this fight in its entirety.
Nope, 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 nope. I do not have to agree with your ideology simply on the basis of, do I think people are people? That does not follow. I am not required to agree with you just because we agree on a fundamental truth about humanity. Your movement, your methods, your ideology, your philosophy is yours. Just because we overlap in some basic values does not mean I am then required to go along with anything else you have to say. You know, that goes for you, that goes for any Republican, that goes for any Democrat, and on and on and on. No. You have to give me an argument. You have to give me a sales pitch. I get to listen to that sales pitch and evaluate for myself if it makes sense to me. Thus far in this talk, you've told me nothing. No details, no examples, nothing. So no, I don't have to do anything.
Yes, we're talking about policing, but we're not just talking about policing, police killing people. We're talking about all of the impacts of policing. We're talking about the criminal justice system in its entirety and all of these other systems.
All of these other systems, what systems? Every system. You named everything. You said every organization, every institution in Britain, all of them are entwined together to oppress Black people. All of them. I don't believe you.
You have to understand all of these systems.
No, I don't. Because I seriously doubt that you do. Do you have a law degree? Do you have a medical license? Have you ever served in public office? And on and on. You do not understand every system. No person can be expected to understand every system. What are you talking about?
You have to understand racial trauma.
Do you really think, with the rhetoric I've heard today, if I came out, me, individual me, came out and said, I understand racial trauma, what do you think the reaction would be from most of the planet, of the wokosphere? No, no, I'm sorry. It's an impossibility. And even if I said I did, you would say, I don't know what I'm talking about.
You have to understand that even if you're not directly a part of these systems.
No. Everyone is a part of these systems because you said every system is a part of the problem. You said charities are oppressing Black people. You went all the way down to charitable organizations, nonprofits. No, no one is spared from this. Why are you sparing people from this?
That in some way you're still enabling them. And so in some way you are still complicit.
Wait. So I'm not involved in any of these systems, but I'm still enabling them and I'm still complicit. So I'm involved in all these systems. Everyone's guilty. Thank you, the Gay Rascal. I'm here now. You may begin. Okay, Rascal, we only have one Lexi Mads here, okay? There's only room for one Lexi Mads to come in and claim that somehow because they showed up late, I got to rewind to the start, okay? You don't try to take that from her. She needs that. It really is the most important thing to her on my channel. Don't do it.
So really ask yourself, do I want this done in my name? What more can I do to fight for racial equity?
Well, anything I do is going to perpetuate the systems in place and thus make me complicit in racism because the only place I can go to do anything are the systems in place because every system in society is intertwined to oppress Black people no matter what, including cancer charities. How can I possibly make any move without being scared that the move I'm making is just going to continue to perpetuate the problem if everything is suspect?
Because I do not want to be protesting in 50 years with my grandchildren.
Well, then don't do it. I have a feeling. I really have a feeling that you have that choice, and you will have that choice in 50 years.
You can actively support our resistance. You can actively support the building of these new systems. Coronavirus has not only highlighted the inescapable interconnectedness of humanity, but forced us to rethink the ways in which we live together.
I think the coronavirus has been used as a wedge issue for people to bring up things and weaponize the pandemic for their own political and ideological arguments. You know, I've told this story before, but I'll tell it again. I had a teacher in high school, and again, this tells you how old I am, who for some reason, if you could tie any essay you were writing or any like book report or anything, if you could tie any of it somehow back to the Oklahoma City bombing, if you could find some narrative or societal reflection or something else all the way back to the Oklahoma City bombing, she would give you an A on your paper, even if it was just garbage otherwise. And I exploited this on far too many occasions, I will admit. But hey, you know, when you find a strat in order to speed run, you tend to use it. You can find anything and tie it back to the pandemic, because the pandemic, like you say, is a global human issue. It affected everyone's life in some way, shape, or form. Therefore, you can tie everything back to the pandemic if you really try hard enough. Not necessarily legitimately, but you can find a way. So simply saying the pandemic has uncovered and no. There are some things the pandemic has forced people to do. You know, necessity is the mother of invention. It's everything. But no. And the most recent example that I highlight about that was the whole mathematics is racist thing. They kept bringing up the pandemic and at-home schooling and all this as somehow uncovering the inherent racism of mathematics. Didn't buy it then, don't buy it now.
We have seen beautiful acts of mutual aid and care.
Mm-hmm.
Reimagining justice requires the same urgency, compassion, and commitment.
Have those acts of mercy and care come from charitable organizations by any chance? Because you know all of those guys are racist.
And realizing how deeply connected we all are. Another world is possible. So the next time you hear a siren, let that be your reminder of your responsibility to actively build that world.
Okay, now that was some canned applause right there. But anyway, a whole lot of nothing. A whole lot of nothing. She did not reimagine justice. If she has an argument for a different system, a different way, I didn't hear it. I heard community support organization and legal aid, advocacy, that kind of thing. And community support, I don't have a problem with it. I mean, it depends on what they are aiming towards. If they're saying, don't trust the police, let's keep all of our problems internal, I don't know that that's the best strategy. If you're teaching kids in your community to be scared of the police, to be scared of the authorities, to handle your problems yourselves and not get the authorities involved no matter what, that can lead to problems. But elsewise, I don't know what she was pitching here. I don't know what she was offering as an alternative or a solution to the problem she was bringing up. I just don't know what it was. But that all being said, let me get the bingo card loaded up here for a second. If you guys have arguments for squares not yet circled on the bingo card, as soon as I have it displayed, hold on to those ideas. And, nope, I got to save this off. Hold on a second. I'm sorry, guys. I missed a step in my prep for the show. little behind the scenes note, the countdown timer on the StreamYard page froze, unbeknownst to me, at about 5 minutes left to go before the stream should start. And I was paying attention to that. And it took me a minute to realize a couple minutes in that it wasn't moving. So I had to restart the page, yada, yada. Anyway, my usual prep time got stunted in trying to get everything ready in a much shorter amount of time. So consequently, I didn't have the bingo card loaded up. So let me get that here. Live TV, everybody, live TV. Let's see, we want to do this, and then this, and then this. And now you... Oh, I'm such a professional. Okay, let's see if I can make this happen now. And there. Okay, now we're on the board. Now we're a little better off. All right, so that's the card as I have it right now. Let's go over it once and see if there's anything I need to circle, and then I will take your arguments for any others to be circled. Anecdote that probably never happened. She didn't give any anecdotes throughout this entire thing. She talked in generalities about, you know, supporting a guy who was about to go to jail, maybe. And given the, you know, offered purpose of her organization, I can believe that that happened. And it's not very consequential to her argument, but other than that, she didn't really offer any. So there you go. Self-vilification, wretchedness. Nope, at no point did that happen. Weightless example. You know, honestly, her listing off all of those names without any other details collectively, because we like collectiveness here, to me, make a weightless example. Unless I know what's going on, that doesn't prove or disprove your argument. It just doesn't. I don't know what happened there. I don't know why. I don't know the circumstances. You say that they were unjustified. You say they are examples of evil or whatever. I don't have any reason to trust you all by yourself. White supremacy. She never brought it up. She never brought it up. In fact, I'm challenged to think of a moment where she ever brought up white people in general. If I'm forgetting something, let me know. But it never came up. I mean, you could infer that, but she didn't get that specific. Privilege. Did she ever say privilege? No, not that I know of. Equity, she said racial equity and so on and so forth earlier. So there you go. Plays victim, certainly. Plays victim. Attempt to coin new buzzword, buzz phrase. No, and I'm not going to count the name of her organization as a buzzword or buzz phrase. She didn't. It's an organization, and she, you know, made it up, but she didn't dwell on the name. Wage gap, no. Patriarchy, no. She never really talked about gender. In fact, I don't think she ever brought up gender. Feminism, no. Diversity and inclusion, no. I don't think so. Make something about race, sex, etc. for no reason. She had a reason. It might not have been a well-argued reason, but she had a reason. Childhood or family anecdote. Yeah, surprisingly, she never talked about herself. She never gave us, and this is the part that that really surprised me, that she didn't have a story of her own to tell us that would like back up the whole siren thing. Like what was her experience that caused her to become nervous about sirens? I thought for sure we'd get something like that, but we never did. Contradicts own point or argument. Yeah. A couple of times there, she backed over herself. I mean, when you start out by saying that every aspect, every level of society is inherently racist, and then you expect people to somehow not also be accused, and then ask them to work within the system to change things, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Sorry, I forgot to update the card there. And microaggressions, unconscious bias. It was certainly implied, heavily enough that I'm going to circle it. Yeah. Okay, so that is what I have presently. If you have arguments for squares that have not yet been circled, let me know in the chat now. It helps if you tag your comment with my name so I see it amongst everything else. Let's see. Mr. E, self-vilification and wretchedness. Are you kidding me? These assholes never think they're anything but... No. Mr. E, you've obviously missed the ones where the person on the stage is telling us about white privilege and they themselves are white and they start apologizing for their existence. It happens. Or a man is standing up on stage talking about toxic masculinity and talking about his own evils and blah, blah, blah. It happens. So, yeah. Check your logic. Why is everyone saying at scribe? At scribe? I must have missed something. Well, I'm not seeing any arguments for other squares to be circled. This is new. Or maybe there's a delay or something. You're still hearing me correctly? Everything is racist. UK, yeah. Well, Mr. E, no. When they are black females, that square is an automatic no. I can't say that that's the case. I mean, admittedly, I don't remember every single TEDx that I've ever done, but the odds are that that's not the case. Some emulation. So wait, so micro was implied and we circled it, but white supremacy was strongly implied, but we're not circling it. It always comes down to the fact that it's the one thing that'll make a bingo. That's why I always hesitate. Because if the actual phrase or something that's unavoidably the same isn't said in the presentation, that's where I always get much more picky with my arguments. Give me an argument. Give me an argument. I don't want to make that call all by myself. Assassin the Gray Scarlet. I will believe the self-vilifiers the moment one commits seppuku on stage. Well, maybe not that extreme, but I'm always, especially with the people who are white who go on a stage and talk about white privilege, but yet they also hold a degree or own a business or something else. And I'm challenged to think of an instance where any one of them got close to saying, in fact, my credentials are actually invalid because I'm white. I didn't actually have to work for them. Therefore, I'm going to step off this stage because I'm in no position to say anything about what I'm talking about. In fact, I need to give up my entire career because it's based on a lie. You know, I'm always that's sort of the notion in my head every time I hear one of those arguments. It's like, well, what are you even doing here? Right? Shouldn't you be like not on that stage because you don't know what you're talking about? Because anything you say is just a product of your privilege. If you actually believe in what you're saying. Let's see. Arc 210, love circle a buzzword? Well, no, it's not a new buzzword. I've heard that in other restorative justice circles and things before. So it's their attempt to coin a new buzzword, buzz phrase. I mean, it's somebody looking to make their own white fragility. You know, someone going on a stage and saying, this is something I like to call, or this is my list of, or whatever. Something like that. Some ammunition. If everything is against black people, then white supremacy is implied by inverse logic. All right. Well, I'm seeing back and forth in the chat. All right. So, as I've done so many times before, and since it looks like it's probably the only bingo at hand here, if you think that in the aggregate of the talk, white supremacy was implied strongly enough to circle the square, if you think it should be circled, put a 1. If you do not think it should be circled, put a 2. 1 for yes, 2 for no. I'm on the fence, as I always am with things that come down like this. So for 1 for yes, 2 for no. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, 1, abstain, 1, 2, and don't vote more than once. All right. Well, On that basis, and because it seems to be the overall, on that basis, we have, what do you know?
Bingo.
What? Of course!
Yes, we have one bingo, and I think it's likely the only one we'll get. So there we go. Let's see. Frosted Glass, you should circle another square much in the same way destruction circled the scene of the Oklahoma City bomb. Ha 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 ha. Very good. My high school English teacher would be very happy with you. Yeah, I mean, only one because honestly, she didn't say that much. I mean, throughout the entire 15 minutes, you could whittle it down to, probably 5 minutes worth of actual content. There's a whole lot of repetition, saying the same thing in different ways for 15 minutes, not giving any specificity, not giving any context, giving not really any examples of either what her solution was or what systems that she would say have to replace the existing systems and on and on. And I think she painted herself into a corner right at the front by saying that every institution in Britain, all the way down to charities and nonprofits, are all conspiring together in interlocked ways to oppress people. Because if you're talking about every institution, there isn't a person in Britain who isn't working for one of them. From garbage collectors up to bankers. No one is safe from the accusation that they are helping or profiting off of this. So then to turn around and say, we need your help. Well, you just convicted me of some of the worst crimes you can imagine. You've tied me, whether I'm a police officer or not, to the deaths of people. And now you want my help to solve a problem you say I'm contributing to and or constructing and or an agent of? How is that supposed to work? How am I supposed to be trusted if you've already convicted me before we've even had a conversation? So not a very compelling argument because she already locked off any possibility of being able to be agreeable with her right at the front. And then just going over, listing off people's names without attribution, without context. I don't know what that has to do with your argument. What is your argument? All police are bad. But then you broaden out into everything is bad. Well, if everything is bad, there's never going to be a solution. And even your solution isn't going to solve the problem because you say everything is the problem. If she'd come in and said, policing in my community did this, and in response, I did this. And as a result of our actions, this changed as far as policing was done in my community. And this could be a model for other communities. If she focused on that, if she has such an argument, that would be a much more persuasive thing because you have to talk from direct experience. You have to talk from direct results of your own actions. If you're going to talk the talk and walk the walk, okay, great. What results have you seen in your own area? She set her sights far too wide to make a convincing argument or presentation. So that's it. If I have to critique it otherwise, that's basically it as far as the sales pitch is concerned. And like I say, in any other circumstance, if you have somebody standing up and saying that everyone is against you, everyone's aligned against me, everyone's trying to destroy me, and on and on and on, you would think that person really needs to go see somebody because to live life really believing that has got to be absolute torture. Because I'll bet you, dollars to donuts, most people in the world couldn't give a shit less about what you personally are doing with your life, short of it intersecting and affecting them in some negative way. Most people just want to live their lives and be left alone. you know. So promoting paranoia and promoting people not engage with the authorities if something's wrong. Like I say, I don't think that's the best solution. But let's see real quick. I'm just checking the chat real quick. Yes, all the sirens, all the klaxons, get scared when you hear them. Especially if you're in a building and you hear a fire alarm. That'll cause me to have a physical reaction real quick, like get outside. But all of that being said, everyone, thank you so much for joining me for this one. It was a bit of a slog, as many are. Rest assured, I have several others ready to go at a moment's notice, and more are coming every day from the wonderful world of TED and TEDx to look into the far reaches of our current zeitgeist and new theories and new proposals to solve ancient problems or highlight things that will somehow, clear up our skin or something. I don't know. Everything's based on race these days. Oh boy. Anyway, if you'd like to hear more from me or Satsu 2 Cents, you can find the both of us tonight on Lords of the Night at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern on this very channel, where we will talk about the news of the day, news stories that you submit, what we've been up to on the internet, and then your questions and comments. Everyone, thank you so much for joining me. Hope you have a good rest of your week. Friday is just around the corner. I hope you're all safe and well. And if you're not well, please get well soon. And I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.